Got drainage problems? Stick around to find out how to make a French drain. Subscribe! A couple of years ago now, we added this awning to our house, which we have really loved. But the downspout has been a problem. The water runs down and just waters the area right in front of the downspout. And so this area of grass grows really thick. And my lawnmower has a tough time getting through it. To minimize this grass growth and these drainage issues, I'm going to install a French drain so that the water collects under the ground and any excess will just run off as it needs to. So let me show you how I installed my French drain. The drain is now going to go straight into the ground. We are going to remove this elbow piece eventually. But first we need to configure how the French drain is going to go through the ground. Here I have purchased a straight length of drain pipe. It's not the exact same color brown, but we're going to deal with it. I spent some time playing around with different configurations on how this is going to connect to a PVC pipe or a corrugated pipe. Since I had a very rough time finding a connection piece from the drain pipe to go to a PVC pipe, I decided to go corrugated. And it's under the grass, so that's probably a good idea anyways. I purchased two separate elbow pieces. One I have to kind of custom make. The other is nice because it just has the connection piece and the corrugated pipe connected to it. I'm going to try both and see which one I like better. For the section of corrugated pipe that's going to go underground, I purchased this 10-foot long, 4-inch diameter pipe. At this point in the project, I didn't know how much of the 10 feet I was going to use, but at this point, the longer the better. That's what she said. I'm now just laying down a tarp to collect the dirt and starting to dig my trench. Cutting out the grass in nice sections so I can reuse it. And I'm going to make sure to dig the trench pretty deep because you have to compensate for the thickness of the pipe as well as gravel and all of those other things. Here you can see I've dug my trench nice and deep. I have to go underneath an existing sprinkler line, so you have to take that into consideration as you are digging. And while you're digging, you have to consider the angle because the water is going to flow down. So you're going to want to make sure you don't angle it towards your house or towards the entry point you want to go away from. In my case, I've got a quite angled backyard, so I don't really have to deal with that too much because it's already quite angled. So, all right, back to our corner pieces. As I mentioned earlier, the one on the left is going to be custom made, where the one on the right is already pre-built. The problem with the one on the right is these jaggedy edges you can see as it bends. That's where water is going to collect, and I'm worried that as it's close to the surface, the water that stays there might freeze over the winter time and cause me problems. So I'm going to go for the one on the left where you can see the water can just flow straight through and I shouldn't have any problems. And I can also adjust the height of the one on the left because that corrugated piece I can cut to whatever height I need. Now that I know how I'm going to connect my French drain, I'm going to start taking off this elbow piece. There's a little bolt here that we can undo, and you can use these little hex adapters to really take these out quite easily. Sticking the adapter in my impact driver, I can just undo this bolt. And then we can move away these little metal flaps. Just make sure to not cut yourself. Then just wiggle off the elbow. It comes off really quite easily. And now comes the tedious process of making sure everything fits correctly. This new downspout section, needs to be painted, is going to go down just a little bit past the concrete. That's where the connection piece is going to go, and I want that to be right about the height of the concrete so that when I'm weed whacking in the future, it's not such a big deal like it is now. After I've made my measurements, it's time to cut it. Careful! PSA, don't cut and record at the same time. With a lot of effort, I was able to connect my new straight connection piece to the existing downspout. Gonna need to paint that later. This little white adapter I found makes it fit more snugly inside of that little black corrugated connection piece that connects to the elbow. And it looks like I did all my measurements correctly. That little black piece is lining up right at the top of the concrete like I wanted it to. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and attach the screw back on so that this little downspout section piece doesn't go anywhere. I didn't mention earlier, but I decided to take my trench out only about 7 feet, so I'm going to need to cut off the rest of the corrugated pipe that I don't need anymore. And I'll use the extra pieces for later in this project, like connecting the downspout to the elbow piece. And here I'm just doing some more dry fitting to determine how much of that extra corrugated pipe I need to cut to connect the downspout and the elbow piece together. Now just whipping up my tape measure, and I need to get the distance between the inside of the elbow piece to the top of the connection piece, and it's looking about 8 3/4 inches or so. With that section cut, you can see that it fits quite nicely. But before I install the elbow piece, I'm going to add some gravel. I've dug more underneath the elbow so that I can have room for the gravel to sit. The purpose for adding gravel is for stability as well as drainage, which I will explain later. Here's just a quick look at our progress so far. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add gravel everywhere else, especially at the end point where the overflow bubbler is going to sit. The purpose of the gravel is twofold in that it adds stability to the line as it sits underground, as well as it adds drainage and good water flow potential. What I am doing now is drilling holes in my corrugated pipe for the water to escape out of the pipe into the gravel. This allows for the water to escape out of the pipe and not plug it up. If there does happen to be a massive surge of water, we are going to add an overflow bubbler to the end of the line to prevent the line from completely plugging up and backing up your system. At the end of the line, I'm digging quite a big hole and filling it with gravel. The reason I'm doing this is the end of the line is where the bubbler is going to sit. The bubbler is at the end point of the line where all of the water is going to collect. In the bubbler itself, there is a hole for the water to drip out so that it doesn't just sit there at the end. And so it's going to drip out here onto the gravel. With all of the underneath gravel in place, it's time to attach the bubbler. Here I have a connection piece that goes from 4-inch corrugated to the elbow piece of the overflow bubbler. The bubbler, or the emitter, has a cap at the top, which is a pop-up drain, which will pop up obviously as the water has enough pressure to be pushed out of it. The emitter is only going to work if it's lower than the start of the line. Make sure that your elevation is correct. Now that I've completed the design and construction of the French drain, it's time to assemble it all. Here I am noticing that the adapter that connects to the bubbler is a little loose, so I'm just going to throw a screw in there to hold it together. The last part of this process is to make sure that the emitter or bubbler is pretty much ground level. Right now it's going to be underground if I leave it at this height, so I'm going to add this little extension piece just to bring it up to the surface. Just remember to make this bubbler or emitter lower in the ground than the entry point of the water at the beginning of the line, so that this bubbler can actually work hydraulically, so that the force of pressure of gravity can force the water out of this emitter, if needed. At this point, it's recommended that you put gravel on top of the line, but I'm not going to. I want to get rid of this dirt. I don't want to haul it off to the dump or anything like that. So I'm just putting the dirt right back on top because I have gravel underneath. And just putting the sod back. And there you have it, a new French drain installed for our awning. I'm going to add some seed or some sod next year right where the entry point is, because you can see it's just dirt. But there you have it. That's really all you have to do. Now, let's sit and wait for a rain to come. Proof of concept. I have a hose running water down on the other side of the awning, and it's running down into the French drain. And you can see it's starting to spill over the edge now, like it should. So, everything's good. Well, you probably can't see, but it's raining pretty good. Even my awning is dripping a little bit where it shouldn't be. But the downspout is doing its job. So my underground French drain is operating as it should, folks. Get some little bit of water right there, but you can see it's all going down inside. And I have no water standing outside. And it's dripping down into the bubbler down there. If you've made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.